What you need in the building? How's everybody doing today? All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first and foremost in my life. I like to give knowledge to the Most High God. This is one of my first streams for the day, so that's why I'm saying that. I'm going to get into the boxing in a second. Today, we're talking about Hitchins versus Gustavo Levos. We'll have a little talk about that. You know, Hitchins is talking a lot of talk. I hope he can back up his talk because Gustavo Levos is no joke, and y'all going to see what I'm talking about. Then you got, we'll talk a little bit about Pitbull Cruz, a little bit about his style, a little bit about the buzz on him, and future fights that could come up for Pitbull Cruz. We're talking at 135 as well as all the way up to 140. So we'll talk about Pitbull Cruz as well as we'll talk about David Benavidez and an interview that he had. And I think this is really going to be good for you guys to check out. And also some more things we'll talk about in the sport of boxing. So let's get into it. First of all, I'm what you need. If you like this channel, if you like what you're seeing, don't forget that you can like, share, subscribe, and you can also donate via PayPal. I must say again, and this is just going without saying, what you need does not get any money from Google. It doesn't get any money from YouTube. It's basically from your donations as fans. And you can donate via PayPal. The link is in the chat section as well as the description. If you want to join as a guest on this stream as well, all you got to do is click this link right here. You will key up in the guest area, and then we'll start doing the do. All right. Now, what's so cool about this is I believe if I click this button here, which is present, I can actually share the screen. Let me see if I'm right. Yeah. So if I wanted to, I guess I could share this right now. Let me see if I'm right. Yep. There you go. All right. Okay, cool. So I guess I'm learning how to use this device. So I'm going to use this to highlight certain things, maybe even share certain videos on the screen with you guys, and we will have a good time doing that. All right. So on what you need, you know what it is with this channel. We're going to get right into it right now. You guys can also comment in the chat. I'll try and highlight whatever you say in the chat. Let's get to it. So we saw the last press conference with Richardson, Hitchins, and Gustavo Levos. The fight card involves the following. So as you know, on Saturday, Richardson Hitchins will be facing Gustavo Levos. For those of you who don't know who Gustavo Levos is, his style and everything, I don't want to get copyright infringement. I got copyright infringement for the last video I did with you guys. I think the last stream I did with you guys, I got copyright infringement for it. So I don't want to get that. But still, nonetheless, I want to show you guys a little bit of clips of Gustavo Levos. I want to show you a little bit of Richardson Hitchins. So we'll see how we can get that done. All right. On here. Okay, so but what we're going to do right now is I want to just show you. Hold on a second. Here we are. So the fight card for the press conference, Richardson Hitchins versus Gustavo Levos with the zone boxing. There's a promising young fighter who we're looking at. The promising young fighter is, let me see if I can find him. He comes out of David Benavidez' gym. I'm looking for him right now. It's taking a little while. Sorry about that, guys. If you got any questions or any comments or anything, you can put it into the comment section at the at this point in time. Hold on a second.
All these fighters seemingly on the doorstep to big things within their respective. Before looking at me in front of the to go and the IBF title this Saturday live from the Fontaine Blue, live on the zone around the world.
Okay, just now I'm gonna get it.
Now 20-0, lapping it up, look excited, look confident, ready to go on Saturday night. Moving forward, it's a big fight on Saturday. Yeah, it definitely is. A 17-year-old kid who came into the office now. You're a man. Very thank Saturday night. Thank you, Diego. Welcome. Sometimes I still see you as that young 17-year-old kid.
All right, the kid's name is Diego.
You're a man, you're 20-0. Your life has already changed. You're walking around, your young baby this week, your big Great Dane dog, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, wow, this man. He's moving towards a middle-aged man. Jose Benavidez and the team doing a fantastic job in camp, but everybody in boxing knows that you are on the path to greatness in this sport. Every fight is dangerous, especially.
Can't get his name. His name is Diego something. I can't remember what.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I want to thank God, thank my team, Matchroom, DAZN, everyone for this amazing opportunity, to be here once again.
Diego Pacheco, yeah. All right. So Diego Pacheco is taking on another undefeated fighter, and this is a name, I guess, that DAZN is pushing, the future. So you have Diego Pacheco, and he's going to be taking on another undefeated fighter. So that's on the undercard of Richardson Hitchins versus Gustavo Levos. Now, Richardson Hitchins has been talking up a storm. He been talking, boy. This boy be talking. Yeah, no. Now, when Devin Haney and Bill Haney talk, they talk from a library, a library of experience. You know what I mean? But this dude, Richardson Hitchins, he be really chatting up a storm. And Richardson Hitchins was on record calling Devin Haney a bitch. And he said, none of those guys could deal with him. He's the best 140 pounder. So he'd be really talking up a storm. I hope he can back it up, because the guy he's about to face is about to give him a run for his money. He doesn't know that. But he ain't Gustavo Levos ain't no punk. Yeah, anytime you hear about a fighter who's coming from Argentina, they not punks. Okay, I'll let you know that from the jump. So Richardson Hitchins, he's going to be taking on Gustavo Levos, undefeated fighter. Was at lightweight, moved up to super lightweight recently. I think this is going to be Gustavo Levos' first fight at super lightweight, if I'm not mistaken. Richardson Hitchins just went. He fought Jose Cepeda. Jose Cepeda just got knocked out, though. Jose Cepeda fought, if I'm not mistaken, he fought Regis Prograis in a really exciting fight. And the best of Jose Cepeda is probably behind us now. He fought Regis Prograis, but his fight before Richardson Hitchins, and he got knocked out in that fight. So the Jose Cepeda that faced Richardson Hitchins was a shell of himself. And, Richardson Hitchins brags about that. That's his best win on his record. So Richardson Hitchins has beaten absolutely nobody so far, except for Jose Cepeda. Well, actually, he beat Kevin Johnson, which is a good fight. And he also beat Malik Hawkins. But these, again, are basically relative unknowns. They're good fighters, but they're relative unknowns. So that's who Richardson has beaten. Gustavo Levos. So Gustavo Levos actually fought a former world champion in Lee Selby. And he knocked him out. And I'm going to tell you right now, Gustavo Levos is no joke, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to show you Richardson Hitchins versus Jose Cepeda. I'm going to show you a little clip of Gustavo Levos versus Lee Selby. I know I did this before, but I'm going to show you again. But I have to be careful because I don't want to get copyrighted on this stream. But I'm going to show you the two contrasting styles, and then we will take it from there. Okay. Now I could show you via my phone, or I could try and experiment with this thing here and see what happens. Either way, it'll be fun to try it out. So we can try it out one way or the other. And regardless, it's quite interesting, the contrasting style. So I just want to show you guys what their styles look like. I think I'll just use the YouTube video and I'll use my phone. But I think I have to be sort of careful with how much information I use on the phone. I think that's what's up. So let me go to YouTube here. Just gonna show little highlights of Richardson Hitchins versus Jose Zepeda, but Jose Zepeda is kind of past it. Nonetheless, just what it is. Okay, here we go.
On his face right now. And there for Hitchins again.
Okay, this is all.
He's ready to retire if he loses this one, but his mood during 5 weeks suggested he's not yet ready to walk away. Can Dalton Smith send the proud man into retirement? The stage is set here.
I gotta be careful with this because of copyright. This is the zone boxing, so I don't want to. But I really want to show you Richardson Hitchins' style. Oh, this is Smith versus Zepeda. This is not Richardson Hitchins. That's Dalton Smith versus Zepeda. I guess I'll have to show you from here. OD, whatever boxing. All right. Kind of bend. Okay, here we are. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to show you. Okay, they're showing us from the 8th round. So this is Richard Hitchins versus Jose Zepeda here. See Hitchins circling there. Hitchins was pretty boring that night. As you can see, he's missing punches and all kinds of stuff. You know, he's using his jab to try and keep a distance. But he's not really throwing with power. He's touching with the jab. You know, Hitchins is not very exciting. I'm not going to lie to you. He's boring. He's really boring to watch. I've seen him really explode in certain fights and really look good. In other fights, he just looks boring as hell. He's very boring. Did bust up Zepeda's face, though. This is very boring boxing. The Devin Haney's a lot more exciting a fighter than Richardson Hitchins, by far, by miles. Good counter in there by Hitchins. But see, he clinches and he turns, and Richardson Hitchins he's a good fighter, but I didn't think that Zepeda was really his best against Hitchins. Okay, and it showed where a guy named Dalton Smith actually stopped Zepeda. So be that as it may. Okay, let me show you who he's facing. He's facing a guy. He's facing a guy named Gustavo Levos. The thing with Gustavo Levos is he's a bit unorthodox, but more controlled than say Marcos Maidana, but he does share some characteristics to Marcos Maidana. Now, Gustavo Levos, he fought and stopped Lee Selby. Okay. He fought and he stopped Lee Selby. And this is what the fight looked like. It's Lee Selby right there. That's Gustavo Levos. Oh, that's where he stopped Lee Selby, I guess. This is not as clear, but it is what it is. As you can see, he has good head movement. Closes the distance. And boy, does he have a lot of he has a lot of zeal and energy. So you see Lee Selby's trying to keep him away with the jab, but it's not working. And Gustavo Levos, he comes at you, man. He comes at you. You know, he's a beast. So it'll be very interesting to see how Richardson Hitchins does against Lee Selby, because I'm telling you, man, Lee Selby, Gustavo Levos, he throws hands. Okay. And getting hit with shots is not going to deter him. And he does have the bob and weave. He has the crouching style, kind of like Jack Dempsey style of fighting. He's not like Pitbull Cruz, but he has the same tenacity like Pitbull Cruz. Here he is getting Lee Selby out of there. So Richardson Hitchins, he gonna be in for a fight, man. I'm telling you right now, he's in for a fight. Now, unlike Richardson Hitchins, who has not faced any world champions in his career, Gustavo Levos has fought world champions, and he has fought that style that Richardson Hitchins has, a style very similar to it, and he's beating the guy down. He beat down Lee Selby. Lee Selby doesn't get knocked out like that, but he got stopped. So Gustavo Levos, he's not a joke. There it goes, and that was that. He beat down Lee Selby. So I'm telling you right now, my opinion, Richardson Hitchins, Africa, bro, you in for a fight. You not in for this. You in for a fight. You're going to have to fight this guy. I thought of Floyd versus Marcos Maidana, the first fight, and Floyd was in for a fight with Marcos Maidana. And I'm telling you right now, this guy, he ain't all totally fundamentally sound. He always trying to close the distance. It's bob and weave style. He knows how to slip punches properly. He's not one of those guys who's going to bob and weave on the outside. No, he bobs and weaves when he needs to close the distance. A jab alone is not going to do it. A jab and a cross alone is not going to keep this guy off of you. He's coming for you, and he's coming for you hard. So having seen that, I want to see if Africa can get past Gustavo Levos. Because if he can get past Gustavo Levos, then Subriel Matias is going to be easy work for him. This is definitely a test for him. He doesn't know it, but he's going to get tested. So he's talking like a lot. Richardson Hitchins is unlike himself right now. He's talking a whole lot. And you could have scored Shakur Stevenson. You might think you better than Devin Haney. You might have scored Tank. That will not prepare you for this kind of fight. This kind of fight is an unorthodox fighter. Well, he's mostly orthodox fighter. He's a pressure fighter. Bobs and weaves, slips and slides, works to the body, comes at you, is relentless. So we're gonna see what Richardson Hitchins really got, because I'm telling you right now, and he's talking about getting hit with hard shots and shit like that. Richardson Hitchins knows he about to go through a hard fight. This is gonna be a hard fight. The winner of this fight is going to take on Subriel Matias, and you gotta pass the test. And this is the dude who's going to test Richardson Hitchins. This is not going to be no easy fight for Richardson Hitchins. I already know this, and the way how Richardson Hitchins is talking emphatically tells me he knows this guy is not no chump. And the way how the guy just kind of smiled and looked at Richardson Hitchins like food. Oh no, Gustavo Levos is no chump, and this is going to be an interesting fight. It's not just about jabbing this guy. You have to do a lot more than that. Richardson Hitchins, this is a guy who's going to make Richardson Hitchins fight. He's not going to be able to do just what he was doing against Jose Cepeda. This is not some guy who's at the end of his career looking to lie down. This is an undefeated fighter, one. Two, this is a seek and destroy fighter. So we're going to see what Richardson Hitchins can do to handle this guy, because I don't see anybody in his resume who was like this guy. So he about to get tested, and we already know it. And I'm the first what you need is going to say right now. This fight going to determine if Richardson Hitchins can face Subriel Matias, because he's up against a challenge, and he has to try and pass that challenge. He's talking like if this is an easy fight. It is not an easy fight. I guarantee you that it's not an easy fight. He's gonna learn that real quick, and we're going to find out really what he's made of in this fight. So this guy's going to push him, and he's going to push him hard. Should he come out on top? I think he has the goods to come out on top. I just don't know how that's going to happen, but we're going to see. He's going to have to resort to a lot of things. So we're going to see what he's got in the tank, what he's really about. We're going to find out what he's really about. He's talking about taking punches. Bro, you're going to take punches. This guy is going to test you. He's going to test you. All right. So we'll see what happens with that. Great matchup by DAZN. This guy was in line to face Devin Haney at lightweight, and then he moved up to super lightweight because I guess he got too big for lightweight. So Gustavo Levos, and you can see Gustavo Levos is ready. He may not have been on the stage that they're on, but he is going to get very comfortable very soon once he's targeting Richardson Hitchins. So guys, I'm telling you, this is a sleeper right here. This one's going to be a good one. All right. So Richardson Hitchins versus Gustavo Levos. Watch out for that. That's going to be a good fight. And we're going to find out very quickly if Hitchins is ready for Matias. We're going to find out that real soon. Very soon. With respect to Pitbull Cruz and his style, Pitbull Cruz's style is fan-pleasing, but it is not reckless. Pitbull counters fighters. He also is able to slip jabs, get to the inside. He's also very strong. As you can see, he has no neck, and he's tough. His style is crowd-pleasing. The style he uses is effective. I've heard a lot of people saying that fighters who can jab very well, move relatively well, they can beat Pitbull Cruz. It's not as simple as it sounds, because Pitbull brings another thing to the table. He's not flat-footed. He's not a flat-footed fighter. He can move very quickly. He has agility. He's explosive. And unlike Matias, who's not as explosive, he's not as quick, but he uses of course the two guard to protect himself. Pitbull has really quick reflexes. That is, he can start launching into you, and then he can pull up, and he can get out the way of shots. There's a number of videos on YouTube showing just how good Pitbull's defense is, and how much he's able to obstruct and block a lot and catch a lot of punches so that the punch doesn't thoroughly hit him, as well as he's able to ride certain punches and roll certain punches, etc. So Pitbull is not as straightforward as people make him out to be, and even the choice of punches he does and the strategy in which he pushes back a fighter to be able to catch them with shots is all calculated. He's calculating how he fights, and this is why he gave Gervonta Tank Davis a run for his money. And even whether Tank injured his hand before or after in a fight. Hold on a second. Okay, hold on. You know, fighters use all kinds of excuses, and fighters go into fights injured all the time. But regardless of whether Tank injured his left hand before or during the fight on Pitbull's head, it's really irrelevant, because even if he had two hands, he's not going to stop Pitbull. Pitbull's defense is too tight. Like I said to you guys, that's why I like the fight with Pitbull and Subriel Matias. I don't know who would win that fight. People are saying because Matias is bigger, he would win, but Matias is slower. He's not as quick as Pitbull. Both of them have, well, Pitbull has better defense than Matias, which is why I don't have a problem with putting Pitbull in with anybody. I don't think the problem will be that Pitbull will get stopped. Nobody's stopping Pitbull. But what I do know is he can get outplayed, right? A real chess player can outplay him. Tank outplayed him, even though the fight was closer than we expected. And but it's not easy to outplay this guy. He's going to push you. You know what I mean? So I don't see Teofimo Lopez, for example. I don't see Devin Haney necessarily losing to Pitbull, but I do see Pitbull pushing Teofimo Lopez, pushing Devin Haney, pushing them to the brink. Can I see Pitbull beating Subriel Matias? Absolutely. But there are several other fights in the horizon that Pitbull could deal with. We have players at 135 and we have players at 140. We could see Pitbull versus Lomachenko or Kambosos. We could see Pitbull versus Shakur Stevenson. We could see Pitbull versus Tank. We could see Pitbull versus Frank Martin. We could see Pitbull versus Raymond Muratalla. We could see Pitbull versus, you could name it. We would have Pitbull versus whoever, at 140 and 135. Somebody spoke about Antoine Russell versus Pitbull, even though that's very unlikely. Of course, we also have Pitbull versus Barroso. We could have Pitbull versus Kenneth Sims Jr. We could have Pitbull versus Keyshawn Davis. You can just name it. Whoever you want to name, Pitbull could face them. And I wouldn't be worried about Pitbull because Pitbull has tight defense. I don't know if he'd win all the fights. Clearly, I'm not. I don't know. Subriel Matias fight. There's the unknowns. The unknowns such as could Pitbull, for example, push back Subriel Matias? Could Pitbull get his shots, his hooks, his straight lefts, his lefts to the body, his straight rights? Can he get his combinational punching on Subriel Matias? But more than likely, he will land some shots on Subriel Matias, and Subriel Matias will try to land shots on Pitbull as well. Pitbull, if he is determined to do something, he's determined to do something. You know what I mean? And it's very hard because he's so quick and explosive. It's very hard to really catch him with a good shot. But Subriel Matias throws multiple shots. So it would be a very interesting fight. It would be a very action-packed fight. And it would be interesting to see where the pendulum would swing, because you got these two action-packed fighters who will come in the center of the ring and duke it out for as long as it lasts. Or maybe the whole 12 rounds. Who knows? But what I can tell you is Pitbull's not like that, Chef. And, Pitbull's short. And his shortness, his low center of gravity, and the way how he crouches and how he gets undershots and he slip shots and all of that makes him very difficult for Subriel Matias, who would be coming with his uppercuts and his looping shots, and his hooks and stuff. It would be very interesting to watch that fight. That fight would be a hell of a fight. It could be a fight of attrition. It may not be a fight of attrition. Who knows? But that would be one of the most exciting fights in boxing today. Will Pitbull be facing those? I think the more likely opponent that Pitbull would be facing next should be Ishmael Barroso. So I expect Pitbull to have to deal with his mandatory, which is Ishmael Barroso, who's another fighter who has a lot of power, can box on the back foot and set traps. He can box on the front foot. He's just old. So, the problem with the fight with Pitbull versus Barroso is Barroso's old. So he does tire. He does fade. The first 5, 6, 7 rounds, he's going to be fresh. But after past the half point, that's where he starts to fade off. And that's where if Pitbull comes on, he probably get Ishmael Barroso out of there. But we don't know. I mean, that's an interesting fight as well. There's other fighters out there that we don't talk about in the 140-pound division as well as the 135-pound division. And we're just talking wild matchups, and fights that really can make money. Everybody's talking about Pitbull versus Ryan Garcia. I know Ryan Garcia is right now involved with Devin Haney, but let's say Ryan Garcia fights Devin Haney. Let's say he wins against Devin Haney, or let's say he loses against Devin Haney. There's another guaranteed fight for Ryan Garcia. Of course, everybody still wants to see Rolly Romero versus Ryan Garcia. Why can't we have that fight? Rolly just came off a loss. Let's say Ryan comes off a loss. Then Ryan fights Rolly Romero. Okay. But another option to that is Ryan Garcia versus Pitbull Cruz. Hell of a fight, right? And Ryan's saying that Pitbull's tailor-made for him. I don't know if he's tailor-made for you, brother, because he got defense. Okay. He don't just throw punches like that. But who knows? Who knows? It's boxing. You never know. And then you have Pitbull Cruz versus we can have Pitbull Cruz versus Gustavo Levos, the guy that Richardson Hitchins is facing. Gustavo Levos is not one of the prominent names in boxing, but I'm pretty sure at the end of this fight between Gustavo Levos and Richardson Hitchins, in which I think Hitchins going to pull it off, but I think Gustavo Levos might come out the upsetter. He might upset Richardson Hitchins. And I know that sounds crazy for a lot of people, but y'all going to understand. I know a lot of you don't know who Gustavo Levos is, but you're about to find out who he is. He's an Argentinian. Them Argentinians never been easy fights for anybody. So look out, y'all. Y'all about to be introduced to a new player in boxing. His name is Gustavo Levos. He might not win the fight. Mightn't win the fight against Richardson Hitchins, but if he does, it's going to be an upset. But he might win the fight against Richardson Hitchins, as well as he might just give Richardson Hitchins all the run. A big run for his money. Trust me when I say this guy is not a joke, and he's not to play played around with. Y'all gonna see. Gustavo Levos. I've been talking up this guy for a minute, and there's a reason I'm talking him up. All right. Remember what you need said this. All right. So the other thing I want to say, and with Pitbull Cruz, besides his fan-pleasing style, people are talking about him being, probably the successor to Canelo. We don't know. David Benavidez is also equally as he's equally as entertaining. The difference is that David Benavidez, his father's Mexican, but David Benavidez is really Mexican American. He wasn't born in Mexico. His mother's from Ecuador, his father's from Mexico. But he's not born in Mexico. This guy, he's Mexican. He speaks Spanish. You know what I mean? Pitbull is from Mexico. Canelo is from Mexico. This is why they're saying Pitbull is probably the next successor to Canelo. And I remember Gervonta Davis, and even I remember people like what's his name? I can't remember his name right now. He's the CEO of Mayweather Promotions, Leonard Ellerbe. I remember they saying this is the birth of a star. Pitbull's going to be the next Mexican star in boxing. And you know what? This kid might just pull it off. He'll need a couple more big wins under his belt, but he gets a couple more big wins under his belt, he going to be look like the next thing, the next big thing. And the Mexicans really are not satisfied with Canelo because Canelo seems to be ducking David Benavidez. In fact, he is ducking David Benavidez. He's straightforward. I mean, a duck is a duck is a duck. Which leads me to final thing I'm going to talk about before I get out of here. Okay.
Chavez style,
Golovkin style, Mayweather, and Lomachenko.
What would you say?
Angles and all that. And then you see kids turning to that. I mean, I don't think so. I think Mike Tyson has always liked the style. The style is very effective.
Yeah.
You know, best person to do his style is Mike Tyson. So I think he's going to stick with it.
Tyson special, man.
Listen to this.
Who utilizes it now? You would say
David Benavidez interview.
Pitbull, yeah, exactly. Pitbull. You know, so like with boxing, there's like a lot of trends.
Yeah.
So back then when Mayweather was fighting, everybody wanted to have the Philly shell. Then Lomachenko came up. You know Lomachenko?
Yes.
His angles and all that. And then you see kids turning to that. So it's just like a trend, bro. It's, you know, people, that's a cool thing. That sometimes there's a fighter that comes in the generation that just motivate the whole boxing world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's different. There's people that have the Julio Cesar Chavez style, Golovkin style, Mayweather, and Lomachenko.
What would you say are the main styles? Because obviously, right, like Mexicans fight a certain way, Russians fight a certain way, Americans have their style, Cubans have their own style. What is the main differentiation between the two for like an average viewer that might not know?
So the Mexican style was a brawling style.
Okay.
You just go in there, you fucking give it your all. Mano a mano, that's how they call it. The other one,
That's where the term comes from, I guess.
the boxing, the sweet science is like Mayweather style. Use the ring.
Yeah.
That style gets a lot of criticism because a lot of people call it running, but it's not running. It's just being more intelligent, moving your feet, and those are basically
Letting the person tire themselves out.
Yeah, those are the only two. It's either brawler or boxer.
Yeah. Okay.
And then usually in America, you got like the West Coast fighters, you got the East Coast fighters, and you can actually.
So David Benavidez, speaking about boxing, David Benavidez uses many different styles for many different people. In fact, later on in the interview, David Benavidez talks about using the Winky Right style that he uses with the high guard, you know, to protect himself. But he uses several things, including he also uses the Philly shell, the shoulder roll. As you know, David Benavidez employs many different styles. And it's a very interesting interview. You can check Fresh and Fit and type in David Benavidez, and you'll get the whole video there. But David Benavidez was basically making several different points on that podcast. One of them was that, you know, Canelo wanting $200 million to face him, being, you know, pricing himself out basically because not even Mayweather and Pacquiao got that kind of money. I think Floyd did get that kind of money. I think he got like 180 million or something like that. So anyway, the point is that David Benavidez speaks and brings about a number of points. I don't know if you guys want to hear that, of why Canelo doesn't want to face him. But at the end of the day, David Benavidez says he's moving on and he's looking to get the 175 undisputed title. Also, it was interesting hearing David Benavidez say who he thinks would win between Bivol and Beterbiev. And David Benavidez, like myself, we have the same point of view that Bivol is going to beat Artur Beterbiev soundly. He's going to beat him very soundly, and y'all are going to be shocked. I think what a lot of people don't understand, and I'm not, again, Richardson, Hitchins. So, okay, what about Artur Beterbiev is unusual? What about Artur Beterbiev is unorthodox? Artur Beterbiev basically brings boxing to the table. He's big, he's strong, he's a bit rough. If you try to clinch him, he'll rough you up and elbow you and damage you up. But Beterbiev is not a better boxer than Bivol. It's just not. Bivol knows and implements and executes many different things that Beterbiev just doesn't do. And I get why David Benavidez understands boxing very much. I mean, into detail, I'm talking about of the details of boxing, the fine details of boxing, understands that Bivol is way ahead of Artur Beterbiev in terms of boxing knowledge and what he applies in the ring and what Bivol does in the ring, which he does so very well. And the point behind it is this. When you're going to see Gustavo Levos fighting, and you're going to understand that Gustavo Levos is a bit unorthodox. Like, you know, my boy Richardson Hitchins, he's saying, you know, he doesn't hardly use a jab. So he thinks he's going to be able to control Gustavo Levos using his jab. But see, the thing with Gustavo Levos, for the uninitiated, is kind of like Marcos Maidana. He stays low, and staying low is a way, and punching upwards, staying low and punching upwards actually is good. I'll demonstrate. So I'm going to be in the orthodox stance here, and I am the guy fighting a guy shorter than me, right? The guy's made himself shorter than me. He's crouched low down. So if I have to hit him, his head is closer to me than his body. Okay, he's in a crouching stance like this. Okay, a crouching stance like this, and he's coming to me. Okay, now I have to shoot my shots down. I have to shoot my shots down at him, right? I have to shoot my shots down at him. Okay, the point being, he in the crouching stance, way down here, shoots his shots up at me. Okay, so whatever he's doing, he's coming from down to up. I'm coming from up to down. Now, what you got to understand is finding a target shooting down at it is harder than finding a target shooting up at it. It's just the way how your body is the mechanism of your body. If I want to throw an uppercut, it comes from down to up. If I want to throw a hook or rip a hook to the body, it's down to up. My shots literally come from down to up. So shooting shots up is easier than shooting shots down to get the precision behind a shot. The next thing that you have to understand is the guys who make themselves small in a crouching stance coming at you, you know, Jack Dempsey, you know, Mike Tyson, you know, Pitbull Cruz, this guy, Gustavo Levos. What makes them so difficult, Marcus Maidana, is because they're also they have the uncanny ability to slip punches, but they're not going to slip outside. So I'm not going to be bobbing and weaving out here. I'm not going to be bobbing and weaving out here. So I'm not out here bobbing and weaving. I'm not doing this, right? Out here, I'm not doing that. What am I doing out here? I'm here. And then when you throw a shot at me, I slip here. You throw another shot at me, I slip here. You see, I slip the shot, and then what will I do? If I slip the shot here, I slide in, right? So it's all about, in boxing, it's all about being effective. And Pitbull Cruz is very effective at what he does. Gustavo Levos we're gonna find out how effective he is against Richardson Hitchins in being able to counter the jab, because the key here is going to be a guy who can counter a jab. You look at Subriel Mateus, you look at Gustavo Levos, you look at Pitbull Cruz. These guys, they don't throw a whole bunch of jabs. Pitbull Cruz is too short, so his jab falls short if he were to just try to jab with a guy, right? So he jabs at certain times. His timing is different, but mostly he doesn't use the jab. Mostly he comes in with hooks. He slides in, he uses his head movement, he gets off the center line, he slides in, and then he throws his shots. When you look at Subriel Mateus as well, but by the way, Pitbull Cruz may use either hand when he's coming in, right? Mike Tyson, same thing. He had a good jab, don't get me wrong, but Mike Tyson had to wait for you to fire, and he would come back with a counter. Or he'd fire, and then he would slip the shot, and he would close the distance, and then he would land his hooks. When you look at Subriel Mateus and Gustavo Levos, I'm going to tell you something about these fighters. Gustavo Levos and Subriel Mateus do the same thing. Their approach is the same. They don't do exactly the same thing. Their approach is the same. Whereas Subriel Mateus is more upright when he's fighting, Gustavo Levos is more crouched when he's fighting. The difference is Subriel Mateus leads with either hand, and Gustavo Levos does the same thing. They can lead with their right hand, aka Julio Cesar Chavez does the same thing. Pressure fighters, because you see, a pressure fighter has to cut off the ring. So a pressure fighter is more squared up than a fighter who is boxing him off the back foot and trying to keep distance. So, for example, if I am trying to cut off the ring, that means I have to sidestep you, right? I have to move to the side or lateral, right? I have to move lateral to the side. So I'm going to be more squared up, which means when I'm firing my shots, I can lead with either hand because either hand's about the same distance away from you. Now, what Gustavo Levos is going to do that's going to make it harder for Richardson Hitchins is this. Gustavo Levos is in a crouch position. So where Richardson Hitchins is used to firing his shots, his hooks, his straight jab, his rights, he's going to find that he has to adjust that and shoot downwards at Gustavo Levos. Secondly, and this is what makes Gustavo Levos a good preparatory tool for Subriel Matias. Subriel Matias does not crouch. He does not fight from low to high. So, and I would say he's not as vicious. He's not as aggressive as Gustavo Levos is. I think Gustavo Levos, I'm not too sure who's got the better defense between the two of them because they both get hit. But I would tell you this, Gustavo Levos is still a bit sloppy as well, but he's very aggressive. Gustavo Levos has, to me, more hunger than Subriel Matias. Matias has heavier hands, I believe, than Gustavo Levos. So this is an interesting fight because if Richardson Hitchins can get past Gustavo Levos, it means that's a preparatory fight for fighting Subriel Matias, which with Subriel Matias is going to be more structured, more orthodox, more organized than, say, a Gustavo Levos, who's less orthodox, more tenacious, and has more going on that you have to adjust to. So I say all of these points to say that let's see where Richardson Hitchins really is at, because he says he's fought all these kinds of fighters before. Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's really going to be tested, I'm telling you, with this guy. So we'll see if he can fly. He can pass that with flying colors, because that would seriously let us know. And it will definitely let us know and let me know if he can handle Subriel Matias. Lee Parrell is the guy that's going to be facing Subriel Matias. Lee Parrell still, I think Richardson Hitchins has more of the style that could beat a Subriel Matias. And I expect Richardson Hitchins to somehow get over the challenge of Gustavo Levos. If he passes with flying colors, great. That means he's ready for Subriel Matias. If he doesn't pass with flying colors, whether it's because he says that, the weight stipulations or whatever, he's going to have to go back to the drawing board. Or not necessarily go back to the drawing board. Maybe it'll just prepare him, and he'll decide if he can take on Subriel Matias because of the weight change or the weight drain or the whatever. So we're about to find out what's going to happen with Richardson Hitchins versus Gustavo Levos. Hopefully he can give us an exciting fight. Gustavo Levos is going to deliver an exciting fight one way or the other. It's going to be exciting. So we're going to see, because Gustavo Levos generally is in very exciting fights. And what happened with Zepeda and Richardson Hitchins, which was pretty boring, is not going to be happening with Gustavo Levos and Richardson Hitchins. I can guarantee you that. Richardson Hitchins is going to have to fight it. So we're going to see a much more exciting fight because Gustavo Levos, as you can see, he's all about that work. So they're going to get work. They're going to work out. I can guarantee you that. Okay. Gustavo Levos, just like Subriel Matias, he gets hit and he keeps coming. So it's going to be very interesting. And I'm looking forward to that fight. But with respect to Benavidez, check out this interview that Benavidez had very recently. It's good stuff.
When you've been to the top, you can actually tell a little bit of the difference. Yeah. Like when Zab Judy used to fight and all those guys from the East Coast, from New York, and they would fight, people from the West Coast, from LA, and you'll see the difference from a place like Wildcard and somewhere like Gleason's.
What are some of the differences you would say from the East Coast, West Coast guys?
I think, from the East Coast, it's more so.
East Coast is more Philly show.
Philly show.
Okay. And on the West Coast, it's more like the brawler. Yeah, brawler.
Okay. Yeah. Nigga show.
Okay. One more thing I want to talk to you guys about. So recently, recently I was listening to Blue Blood Sports TV, and Blue Blood is making it sound like, Samson Lukowitz saying that Sebastian Fondora, they're looking to try and rematch Tim Tszyu. And of course, Sebastian Fondora is suspended from the New York State Athletic Commission, as well as Tim Tszyu. I think Tim Tszyu is suspended for 3 months, Fondora's for 6 months, but I guess they can shorten the suspension depending on. But Tim Tszyu is suspended for the cut over his head, Fondora for the broken nose, right? He got his nose broken. But the thing about it is, Blue Blood Sports TV is saying that, that's a move by Sam Lukowitz to isolate out Bud from getting his chance at the championship. And, the thing about Lukowitz was talking about Bud facing Jerome Ennis. And for some reason, Blue is offended by this. Now, Blue Blood Sports TV is obviously a Crawford fan. Blue Blood Sports TV had, the promotional company that worked with Crawford. And so when Blue speaks, he's going to have a certain degree of bias towards what he's saying. I'm not mad at Blue, but Blue needs to open his eyes and see the reality of the situation. And here's the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is this. Terrence Crawford still holds the WBC, the WBA, and the WBO titles at welterweight. He has not vacated those titles. In other words, Terrence Crawford is holding back the welterweight division, Stanionis and Mario Barrios, from becoming world champions. It is still unknown who will fight for the WBO title once it's vacant, but he's keeping back that process from happening so that Jerome Boots Ennis can actually unify with these champions. See, this is what Blue is not seeing. See, Crawford can't be saying he's going up to 154 and he's petitioning to challenge for the 154 title, the WBO title, and he's holding on at the same time to the titles at welterweight. If you're not interested in fighting at 147, simply vacate all the titles and move up to 154. You're holding the 147 division hostage. Boots, grab the IBF title. You don't have any interest in fighting me? Fine. Let me be the IBF champion. Okay? You have no interest in fighting me? Fine. I'll be the IBF champion then. Okay? But the other champions are still waiting for this guy to make up his goddamn mind to move out of the welterweight division. This is why I can't defend what Andrew Ward is saying. I can't defend what anybody's saying to defend Bud Crawford. Does Bud Crawford have the right to face Fondora next? No. No. The reason he doesn't have the right to face Fondora next is simple. Fondora has unfinished business with Tim Tszyu. The fight that happened went the way it went, as we clearly could see, because Tim Tszyu sustained a cut, an unintentional cut on the top of his dome that blocked both his eyes. Blood was streaming into both his eyes. One eye was red with blood. He had blood all in his eye. And he fought through that as a true champion. But truly, the fight should have been stopped. Now, it would have been anticlimactic, and we wouldn't have gotten the drama that we got. And Fondora wouldn't have won the fight, and we wouldn't have had an upset. But Tim Tszyu wouldn't have had to go through all of that, which and show that he was a true champion. So, as a result of an unintentional cut, yes, Tim Tszyu ran into Fondora's elbow, but it's still an unintentional cut. Now, everybody's giving Fondora all this praise and talking about how difficult a fighter he is to fight when that narrative is nonsense. While we can applaud him boxing Tim Tszyu and getting a greater opportunity and chance to win the fight and actually pulling it off, if there was no cut, that fight would not have gone the distance it went. Tim Tszyu would have done already knocked out Fundora. How do we know this? In 2 rounds, he already broke Fundora's nose. And he was about to demolish him. He was about to destroy him before 6 rounds, as my prediction would have come through. But the glorious sport of boxing, you just can't anticipate everything. And this was one of the things that happened. Tim Tszyu ran into Fundora's elbow and started to bleed all over the place. Okay? It is what it is. That's how boxing is. You can't anticipate. You have to expect the unexpected. And now Tim Tszyu and his team should be wiser for the next time. Anything can happen in the sport of boxing. Anything can happen. All right? It's just what it is. It's not Fundora's fault. And because he answered the call 12 days notice, because he boxed sensibly and well, at least sensibly enough, he got the break to box sensibly because he wasn't going to have that break. That jab was not going to be a factor in that fight if Tim Tszyu didn't get cut. It was not going to be a factor. But the Tim Tszyu that after the post cut was struggling to see and all of that and couldn't find his range properly, and he couldn't find, the distance where he needed to be and the positioning where he needed to be. Oh, yeah. Fundora was able to make it to the finish line and become world champion. And shout out to him on that. He prepared just enough to win that fight. And he got it by split decision. So he eked it out. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, let's be straight about it. That fight needs a rematch. And now Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora will be able to prepare even more for the rematch. Now, when will the rematch happen? We don't know. Now, I'm hearing Mr. Samuel Lukowitz on another show talking about Tim Tszyu having a fight coming up in June, and we don't know if Tim Tszyu will get past his opponent. So they're counting on Tim Tszyu not to win against his opponent, whoever that may be, so that they don't have to honor that agreement immediately. But really and truly, before anything else happens, Tim Tszyu should have his shot at a world title, the unified world title again, because of what happened in the fight previously. And Tim Tszyu delivered on almost every single front, except he did not win the championship. And shout out to Fundora on winning the championship. Providence had it that he would win the championship. And shout out to him on that, because he answered the call at short notice to save the show. 2, he didn't quit when he was getting blasted to Kingdom Come, and situations evolved so that he could settle down and actually box a sensible fight to win the fight. So shout out to Sebastian Fundora on that. Nobody can take it away from him. He's world champion as well. He joins the ranks of world champions. How long he'll keep those belts, nobody knows. But what we do know is, shout out to him on that. I mean, you got to give him props, okay? But they need to run it back. So, 62% of the public has requested this. And so Samuel Lukowitz needs to hold fast to that before we can talk about Crawford or anything. So when Blue Blood Sports TV starts to talk about, they're trying to box out Crawford, but no, they're not trying to box out Crawford, which leads me to the last piece of my stream. Okay. And the last piece of my stream is, what are the options for Terrence Crawford within the next, 3 months, 4 months, June, July. Let's say, what kind of fight can he have in June, July, or what kinds of fights can he have in before the end of the year, so he can have a fight this year? Because he's old, he's not young. He has to stay active. Well, let's see. I just heard that Oscar De La Hoya, wants Virgil Ortiz to face Terrence Crawford. Okay, I don't know how real those discussions will be, but there you go. You got Virgil Ortiz, who's at 154 right now. You have Errol Spence, who's at 154 right now. That's the obvious one. You also, and I think Terrence should run it back with Errol and settle it once and for all. You also have in that division several other fighters out there, but they're not as lucrative. The most lucrative would be Errol Spence. And then if he wants to, I don't know if Jerome Ennis would oblige to come up to 154 and face Crawford, or to fight Crawford for undisputed at 147. See, now Crawford still has the belts at 147. Either way, Terrence Crawford's biggest fights right now are Errol Spence and Jerome Boots Ennis. Those are his. If he wants to fight somebody new, even though he has unfinished business with Errol Spence because they were supposed to have a rematch, so I might as well have the immediate rematch with Errol Spence. That's a big, big fight. It's a huge fight, and it's the right fight. And here's the thing. It's a fight he has already won. So, and it's a big money fight, even though it won't be as big, I'm sure, and it probably won't sell as much as the first one. It's still going to sell. So the question is, if Terrence doesn't want to fight at welterweight, and he doesn't want to face Boots Ennis at welterweight, which is okay. Okay, he doesn't want to face Boots Ennis, and he's at 154 now. He's bulked up, whatever. Then Terrence Crawford should face Errol Spence Jr., the guy that popped out to face Fundora. Right? If you can't get Errol Spence, Virgil Ortiz just put his name in the fray. Virgil Ortiz would have faced Tim Tszyu. That would have been a good fight. But now it would be Virgil Ortiz versus Terrence Crawford for the WBO interim championship. So Terrence would actually fight for the interim championship instead of just being promoted. And we will be able to see what Terrence looks like at 154 against Virgil Ortiz. Because he hasn't fought at 154. He hasn't fought at 154 yet. Errol Spence hasn't fought at 154 yet. You guys are unproven at 154. So why not have a fight at 154 and then let Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fonfora sort out their business and then fight the winner? To me, that's the thing that makes the most sense and also makes the most dollars. An Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford fight makes more money than a Tim Tszyu versus Terrence Crawford, than a Tim Tszyu versus Errol Spence, than a Sebastian Fonfora versus Crawford, than a Sebastian Fonfora versus Errol Spence. But in the interim, when Fonfora is fighting Tim Tszyu and they're trying to resolve their situation, Fonfora is now a player in the game, big player. Tim Tszyu is trying to retain his honor and be a big player. And let's say Tim Tszyu wins. Then we now have an even better fight, a much more competitive fight between the winner of Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford and the winner of Tim Tszyu and Fonfora. And you still got to keep Fonfora in the mix no matter what happens, because Fonfora was a former world champion. So here's what happens. If Terrence Crawford beats Errol Spence loses, Errol Spence can face Fonfora. Set up really beautifully, huh? In the meantime, Terrence faces Tim Tszyu. Simple. And it makes everybody happy, and it's a spectacle. This can happen between this year and the beginning of next year. That's how it has to go. Now, Terrence is going to call for big money. So the only place he's going to get big money, the only two fights I can see where he gets big money, that's Boots and that's Errol. So if he's calling for $15 million, which is reasonable in Terrence Crawford's terms, because Terrence Crawford, he gets like $20 million a fight, $30 million. So if he's going to fight, he's going to rematch Errol, who's a big name and everything. He's going to have to get, and he wants to, he wants to get paid. He might still ask for $20 million. See, the thing with Terrence is asking for big, big, big money. And if the pay-per-views don't live up to that big, 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 big money, then they say he's not a draw, he's this, he's that, he's the other. That's a problem. And that's where Terrence kind of has a problem right now. But if he fights Errol, Terrence is already the draw. That fight makes money. If he fights Boots Ennis, he makes money. Right? And he's coming to the end of his career. He has to have a fight this year. If he waits out the whole year, he's going to be in problems. You can't. Father Time is undefeated. So it's something where he has to think about what he's doing, calculate what he's doing. you know, he's keeping, I can see he's trying to keep all his options open, but you're also keeping back people in 147. If you're not going to fight in 147, make a clean cut, vacate all the titles, move up to 148, and move up to 154 and do your thing there. Do your thing there. That's how he has to move. He has to move that way. You know, again, I'm not going to say necessarily that he's ducking Jerome Boots in this, but these fighters need to understand that the younger fighters need a chance. And even if Jerome Boots loses to Terrence Crawford, Crawford will boost Jerome Boots resume, just like how Tank boosts Pitbull's, you know, his star power and all of that. Now, in reciprocity, Terrence looks like this great fighter again, and he fought the guy everybody wanted him to fight. So this is why there's perks to fighting Boots over fighting Errol. Boots is a new face. Boots is this guy that seems to have unbelievable skill. He's young and everything. So the old lion holding off the young lion and showing his veteran moves and showing how good he is, it only adds more to Terrence Crawford and the pot of gold at the end of that, which is undisputed a third time. I mean, it's just a tremendous fight. It's just a tremendous fight right there. And that sets him up for whoever, you know, at 154 when he goes up to one. So I'm just saying, I can't really overtalk things because it's already prepared. If you're moving up to 154, you're moving up to 154. It is what it is. But me personally, I think Terrence versus Boots Ennis is the fight. And at this point in Boots Ennis' career, it would be great for Boots to get that knowledge and just to get that pedigree in his resume and everything. It's just everything that's good about it. I mean, to face Terrence Crawford is a privilege. You know, and David Benavidez understands this too. He knows if he faces Canelo, you know, and he gets that experience, that's the more important thing than even winning the fight. You know, you give it everything you got. You know, if you beat Canelo, great. That calls for that brings a lot to the table. You know, if Jerome Boots Ennis beats Bud, you know, that brings a lot to the table. But that's not only what is there. It's the experience. And I feel like these older fighters, and even Mayweather to some degree, even though he passed it on to Canelo, in some respects, these guys, by, you know, trying to show that I'm undefeated and nobody can beat me or whatever, you're not passing on that experience to the fighters who have the greatest potential to do something with it. So, for example, when Canelo's facing Jaime Munguia, he's going to pass on a lot of experience to Munguia. When Canelo faced Yildirim, it was a waste. You passed on nothing to Yildirim. You passed on nothing. It was a waste of time. So I always feel like the legacy of fighters, the legacy of boxers, and just passing on that precious information onto the next generation, whether they lose to you or not, is very important. It's very important because sharing the ring with an all-time great, Lomachenko with Devin Haney, Lomachenko with Teofimo Lopez. He blessed Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney. They're the future. So when even if Loma lost, he passed on so much information to these young guns. You know? And so Teo and Devin have been blessed to face Lomachenko. And they should be very thankful that they got to share the ring with him. You know, the more gracious you are, and the more you begin to realize what has been added to your toolbox is important. You know, but Bill Haney talks about making Lomachenko cry. Okay, I hear you, my friend. But it's like, do you appreciate what facing Lomachenko allowed you to have? You know, and so the attitude, I'm just saying, the attitude, I think is something that, you know, when you are able to share the ring with great fighters and they are able to push you, especially even in their old age, push you, that should be a blessing. That's not a bad thing. You should be honored that you got to share the ring with them because some fighters don't get that opportunity. You know, Canelo and David Benavidez, it should be an honor for David Benavidez to share the ring with Canelo. You know, and so, I mean, and I get where kind of Canelo's talking about the respect thing, but honestly speaking, Canelo is ducking David Benavidez. We all know this, but and you know, I know that Lonnie B has a different opinion about that, but I personally, I'm not into the duck goose stuff, so I'm gonna call it duck what it is. It's a duck, okay? And remember, the more you duck fighters, not appear to duck, but you straight up are ducking fighters, is the more your luster, your cachet falls. Okay? Your currency might stay up, but your cachet falls. So what Canelo has actually done is made a case for those who detract him to say he's not the best Mexican fighter of all time. They can easily say that because he's not facing David Benavidez, the only guy he has yet to face. You know, because he's not going to face Demetrius Andrade. David Benavidez already beat Demetrius Andrade, right? So there's no need to really face Demetrius Andrade anymore. He beat the smaller Charlo, who's the more aggressive Charlo. So there's no real serious need to beat the bigger Charlo. So you're the only guy you ain't facing for no reason at all is David Benavidez. Whether you're going to win or lose, nobody can take from you that you didn't face him. See, if you don't face a guy, it nags you, whether or not it's true or not. To this day, Floyd Mayweather is considered ducking Antonio Margarito, ducking Paul Williams, ducking Sergio Martinez, and ducking Winky Wright, even though he didn't. It's a stigma that's going to stay with him for the rest of his career. Now, nobody can say that about Oscar De La Hoya. You see? Nobody can say that about who else? There's a couple of guys in history. He ducked this guy, he ducked that guy. But at the present point in time, Canelo doesn't face David Benavidez. That's what they're gonna say. They're gonna say he ducked David Benavidez, and I have no way of defending that. None. Like zero. I could defend Floyd on the Margarito thing and on the Paul Williams thing, because Paul Williams came out and said Floyd didn't duck him. But Paul Williams wanted the honor to face Floyd Mayweather. And deservedly so. Antonio Margarito, undeservedly so, because he was cheating. So we don't care about Margarito. Sergio Martinez, deservedly so. Why not? Share the ring with a great. You know? So I can't fault Sergio Martinez for calling out Floyd. I can't fault Paul Williams for calling out Floyd. You know? Unfortunately for Paul Williams, every time he called out Floyd, he lose the fight right after. In spectacular fashion, he got knocked out by Sergio Martinez at 160 when he called out Floyd. And then when he called out Floyd the first time, he lost to I forgot what his name is. Puerto Rican fighter. Not Kermit Central. Kermit Central was the weird situation. The other guy. Carlos Cuadras? No, it wasn't Carlos Cuadras. Cuadras was a Mexican fighter. I forgot what his name is. I can't remember his name right now. But I think Carlos Quintana. Carlos Quintana beat him. And then the second time he called out Floyd, he lost to Sergio Martinez. And then the third time he called out Floyd, he got in a motorcycle accident. I mean, how lucky is this guy? Just I don't know. You know. So but my point is, regardless, Paul Williams wanted that honor to share the ring with Floyd Mayweather. An honor he never got. You see what I'm saying? You see, it's very important for people to understand these things. That is also, boxing is not just about me or you as a boxer. It's also about passing on information. And a person can't get the knowledge base they need if they don't fight the fights that they need to fight. It's only by fighting somebody you can learn from them. And a veteran of the sport like Canelo, it's very important he passes on his precious information to David Benavidez by fighting him. And stopping being arrogant, understanding deeply that this young guy, I can help this young guy go further. Even if I whoop his ass, I can help him become better. That's what Floyd tried to do. He tried to pass the torch to Canelo. If Canelo never faced Floyd, he wouldn't be the fighter he is today. So why not do the same? Why not do the same? And this is the thing. Bud and Jerome Ennis, Floyd made a case. Floyd, listen, Floyd is not one of them guys you take lightly when he says something. And a lot of people out here always try to put negative connotations to what Floyd be saying, but Floyd be saying some serious stuff, and y'all don't process it. Floyd is saying, give Boots a chance, Terrence. Give him a chance to be great. Give him a chance. Floyd is saying, Canelo, give David Benavidez a chance. I saw, what's his name? Goodfellas Sports TV. Lying about Floyd saying that Canelo has the right to do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to face David Benavidez. Floyd never said that. That's a lie. Why are you guys touting lies around here? Floyd said Canelo should face David Benavidez. He didn't say he was ducking him, but he did say he should face David Benavidez. And let me tell you why. He should face David Benavidez because David Benavidez is a growing fighter. And the only real solid way for fighters to grow and learn and gain more knowledge of boxing is to actually fight the fights. That's why we talk about boxing resume. That's why we talk about who you fought and who you beat. You can spar how much you want. You could beat up so many different fighters, but if you're not facing the fighters that count, you can only grow so far. And yes, David Benavidez can create his own legacy and all of that. And he doesn't need Canelo to do that. But at the end of the day, it goes miles by facing Canelo, whether he loses or not. David Benavidez understands that. You know, say what you want about Rolly Romero. He fought two fighters who are now highly esteemed fighters. He fought Tank and he fought Pitbull. So Rolly could speak on what he thinks would happen if Pitbull was to face Tank again. Not only that, but Rolly is finding himself and understanding he has his own style. And he needs to pursue that, being better and more cultured in terms of boxing, but he has to apply it to his own style of fighting. Is Rolly finished? Absolutely not. But he has his own way of doing things. And the trainer he was with before was probably the better trainer for him because that trainer knew how to speak to him and get him to fight the way how he fights. Further, that's Coach Bullet. Further, I want to say that Ryan Garcia. Say what you want about Ryan. Ryan is fighting the fights that if he mentally applies himself, whether he wins or loses or draws in this coming fight here, he will be a better fighter for it. Because the kind of experience he's getting with these top fighters should help him become world champion someday if he sticks with it. I don't know where his mind's at. Okay. I see him tweeting and having conferences and stuff, and Devin Haney's trying to follow after him. I don't know why Devin Haney's doing that. Quite frankly, Devin Haney needs to just focus on what he does, and that's it. But these new generation guys, they decided they're going to try and spice it up and entertain as much as possible. But Ryan has the entertainment aspect down somewhat. I like how he has this unorthodox way of going down different roads. He's trolling, but he's still, exploring real subjects and real things and getting real demographics to actually listen to him, even though he's spouting a lot of shit. Meaning, it's already information that's available to the public that he's talking. All these conspiracy theories and pedophilia and stuff, it's already in the public eye. So when he starts talking about things, they're true, but they're already in the public eye. The public already knows about it. It's already been disseminated. He's just talking about research about a topic, and he's using his forum for that, which is nothing's wrong with that. But he's still trolling you because he's doing it for publicity. Now, with respect to Ryan Garcia, I want to say this, though, that his experience facing these top fighters, it can either be wasted or it can be something that can build him into even a better fighter all around, because he's really got something there. He's got something that the other people in boxing are not doing. He's actually adding a new dimension to boxing that people didn't have before. So he's got something. He's doing something that's different. It's different to the YouTubers. It's different to the Instagrammers. It's different to what people are doing on social media, because he's kind of breaking the mold of being in a genre. So he's doing something a little different. The question is, can he take that boxing experience, whatever happens to him with Devin Haney, whatever happens to him with Tank Davis, can he take that boxing experience and make himself even a better, more formidable boxer out of it? That's the question. All the talk and all that stuff, I kind of tune that stuff out, and I want to know, as a boxer, are you going to take these experiences and waste them, and they're just going to fall by the wayside? Or are you going to take them and add it as tools? Because these are precious learning experiences. Facing Devin Haney, you've got the opportunity to face Devin Haney. You had the opportunity to face Tank Davis. These are two of the best fighters in boxing. So are you going to take these opportunities that you have? That, do I think you necessarily deserve? Do I think that you necessarily were prepared for? No, but are you going to take these opportunities and improve your boxing and fit it and format it to what you do? That is the question for Ryan Garcia, because unfortunately, Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero, and even to a lesser extent, Teofimo Lopez, seem to be limited boxers. But they're the ones who are the greater entertainers in the sport of boxing. And the guys getting the opportunities where I would think a guy like Arnold Barboza would make more out of those opportunities with a fight with Tank. I even think Frank Martin is going to make more out of this opportunity to face Tank Davis than Ryan Garcia will make out of facing Devin Haney and Tank. Because I feel that Frank Martin and Arnold Barboza, they toil day and night, and they're serious and they're focused and they're dialed in when it comes to this sport called boxing. I know Devin Haney's there, but I know Ryan's not. And it's not the fact that Ryan isn't training. See, the physical stuff is cool, but it's the mental stuff that we're talking about. Ryan has shown us by, even though he's covering these new topics and everything, Ryan is showing us that he's not mentally dialed in, because he wouldn't be talking about every other topic under the sun except for what he should be talking about. He's not focused in. And y'all will say he's being very strategic about it. I don't agree. You need that energy. You need that energy focused in on the thing that's in front of you. And he's talking about things that are ahead of him. He's talking about all kinds of stuff on Twitter, except dialing in on the man that's in front of him. And he's being very dismissive of the man in front of him. And that's just not good. It's not good. You shouldn't be vocalizing that. You're supposed to be dialed in, and he's not dialed in like that. He's dialed into his training. He's dialed into what he's supposed to be doing on fight night. But he's not mentally dialed in to Devin Haney. He's not mentally dialed in specifically to the fight that's before him. And he's using it as a protective mechanism. He's saying, oh, that's the easy part. And it's not the easy part. That's the hard part. And he knows it. So that's my problem with Ryan Garcia. But he has something. And if he could just focus in on the boxing aspect more, I believe he's got something there. You know what I mean? But like I said before, experience is everything. Experience is everything in the sport of boxing. Experience is everything in the sport of boxing. And you don't get experience by not fighting the fights that really count. When you face the very best of your era, it expands you, because now you get to face these people and you get to see why they are what they are. And you're also able to take some of the things that make them what they are and add it to your game. Even if you win, lose, or draw. You can't get it no other way. So that's where I think, Raleigh had that opportunity, even though, he's working hard on his skills. Ryan had that opportunity. Yildirim had that opportunity. What's the guy's name? Trying to remember the guy's name here. Hold on. Rocky Fielding had that opportunity. These are guys. What has happened to Rocky Fielding since he fought Canelo? He didn't take the information and use it. So it was a waste. Maybe he'll become a trainer. You know what I mean? So we had Yildirim, you had Fielding, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Wasted. Liam Smith took it, and he took it to the next level. He actually improved as a fighter. He actually knocked out Chris Eubank Jr. Amir Khan, but it didn't make no difference with Amir Khan. That was wasted. That was wasted stuff. James Kirkland, it was wasted opportunity as well. Alfredo Angulo, it was a wasted opportunity as well. So what I'm saying is, why should Canelo go pass this information to Jaime Munguia, and Munguia doesn't improve his game? Still is the same fighter after that. That's a wasted opportunity. The hungry David Benavidez would take that opportunity. Maybe he beats you, maybe he doesn't, but he's going to learn from fighting you. You know what I'm saying? Okay, it's 7:07 p.m. I got to get out of here, but I'm what you need. You watch my channel. Don't forget that you can like, share, subscribe. You can also donate via PayPal if you so wish. The link is in the chat as well as it's in the description. I will catch you guys later. Nobody came on as a guest, but that's okay. I'm going to catch you guys later. I'm what you need. Peace. Let me go to the store and get this.